Hello everyone. Today this is the lectures on the unit 1 about the story title. The story title is The Teacher, and it was narrated by Alma, Flor, and So the learning outcomes, it refer to what are you going to achieve from this week section 3 and 4. So in this session, you will learn new vocabulary according to the story, and the story and you is mean we compare between your story to the story that you are learning. And number 3, we will consider about the literature elements, the flaw of the teachers, and the last one we focus about the grammar for writing. So in grammar for writing, we focus on the type of sentences. So here are the vocabulary that you learn in unit 1 of the story teacher. So related to the first column, it is about the health. So health, we got the word recuperate. The word recuperate is mean that recuperate is mean to recover from the illness or recover from being exhausted or tired, like you don't have any food to eat, and after that you need to recuperate yourself. Unable is opposite to the word able, so it means that you cannot do something. Exhaustion is the noun from the adjective exhausted. It means that you are very tired. Wrinkle. So the word wrinkle refer to your skin when you're getting old, and the skin on your face, it is not smooth anymore. So this is we call wrinkle. Malnutrition. So malnutrition is opposite to the word nutrition. Nutrition is mean the food that contains vitamins, proteins, good for your health. And when you are eating the healthy food, it means that you got a nutrition. So the opposite of nutrition is malnutrition. It means that you do not have enough protein and you do not have enough vitamins. Okay. Story word, it refers to the word that it used in the story. So the word number 1 is mean to determine. The word to determine is mean your decisions that you commit yourself to do something. So like you determine to pass this course, so it means that you do something for yourself and you try hard, you put your effort in order to achieve it. Embellish is mean to polish, to make something look better. Inherit is mean that something that you are own from your parents. This is called inherit. Like after your parent dies, they give you the house, they give you the land, so that is called inherit. To intend is mean that the purpose that you do something. To locate, it refer to where it is. To stray is mean that to lead. Like in the lesson, they say that Mother Lola always stray students away to the life lesson. So which means that they lead the student to talk about life. Did we refer to the goods? Patriot also refer to the fighter, or you can say the legends, or somebody, the heroics of the country. That is called patriots. Yeah, it's similar to the word heroics. Slightest, it means the small amount of something. Solitary refer to, it means you are very lonely and you have no one accompany you, so this is called solitary. Vividly, it means something, to make something clearly. Conclude refer to the summarize of something. To conduct, it refer to how you process or you did something. Impress means to show your interest in something. Yep. Principal, it refers to the head of the school. Yeah. So do not confuse with, with the word principal. They have the same pronouns but different spelling. So when you refer to the somebody who manage the school, we call principal. And when you refer to the policy, this is also principal, but we spell with P-R-I-N-C-I-P-L-E. Yeah. Reflection, it is like a mirror. So when you do reflection, it means that you consider about something. You think critically on something. That is we call reflection. Responsibilities mean to be. It's your role to take a role in something. Topic, it refer to. It means smart. Public refer to the general where the people, or it refer to something that is opposite to the word private. Elementary, it means refer to after the beginning of the school. You go to elementary school. Fascinating is the synonym of interest. Okay, so in order to improve your vocabulary, all these words, please use a good dictionary, learn more the definition of those words, provide with your own example, and try to use all these words in your daily expression and daily communication in English. Okay, so the story and you is mean that is one to the interactions between your life, yourself, and to engage in the story. So in the story and you, there are two words that is compare. One talking about the collective benefit and one talking about individual benefits. So every your actions it show about two different things. So there is the first thing is the big one. They say that responsibility as human being for those around us, and the second one is mean mind his or her business. So the theme of the unit one, the story, the teacher, they want to teach you to take more responsibility as the human being. Like you have to take more role, you have to concern, you have to take care for those around you. You cannot think only about yourself. So if you are the one who is selfish and you think only about your roles and you do not care or do not work with the other, that is you are going to number two, that is say that mind only your own business. So the theme of this unit, responsibility as the human being for those around us, they teach you to take more roles in case that it means you don't need somebody to ask for your help. You have to get a golden heart and the help from the bottom of your heart, and in order to take the actions. So I give one example, like when you come to school every day. When you come to school, you see the litter along your pathway. So if you feel that I don't need to pick the litter up and throw it in the rubbish bin, so it means that you are using the concern that they say that mind your own business. But in case that you say that it is not a heavy role, I can pick up this litter and I throw it into the rubbish bin. So it means that it shows about your responsibility as a human being for those around us. Exactly, your role when you come to school, it is not to pick up the litter. Your role will come to school as a student, and someone who is picking up the litter is the cleaner or janitor. However, if you can help in something like small thing like this, you can help, you have to help. So this is mean this the word called responsibility as a human being for those around us. Like you, when you came into class earlier, so you have your teacher arrange the table, erase the whiteboard, turn on the aircon, yep. And after that, when you go in home, you have your teacher erase something they have written on the board, arrange a chair. So this is your responsibilities. And if they ask you the question, is it your job to do that? The answer will be no. However, you know how you can take your responsibility for those around you. So that's why in this I put the word responsibility as a human being for those around us is bigger than the something that is small here, mind your own business. Yeah. So here are the more example of being, for example, you are a student. So what you can do, number one, pick up the rubbish. That is not a hard thing. Have it. Yeah, don't wait the cleaner. So being a student, you have to join. That is your responsibility. Blood donations. So when you enroll at one school, it is not your requirement. However, it is your responsibility as a human being, because your blood is very useful, especially for somebody who faced the accidents and they really need the blood immediately. You can help to explain your friend the lesson. So sometimes during the lecture session, they do not catch up with what teachers say. So you are the one who can help and explain more to your friends. So it is that's something that you can take responsibility. And after that, do community work. Okay, so you can join any class activity. Help erase the whiteboard after class. Turn off the light after you leaving the room. Arrange the table for your teacher, for your class. Report an important measure, like your friend is having a problem, so you have to report it to administrator in order to help or assist that. So you can see these are the roles that you have to take or you can take without waiting to be said that you have to do this, you have to do that. No, this is the way that you can take responsibility as the human being. So in the part 3, we focus on literature elements. So I think that you have studied 2 semesters already in literature study 1 and in the subject of introduction to Western culture. So what is literature elements? Literature element is the components of approach or method that the writer they use it in the story. So you will study the literature elements one unit by one unit. In unit 1, they focus on first point is about the main character. Main character refer to somebody that who is mostly talked about in the story. Yeah, this is we call the main character. And like for example in the story of the lady or the tiger, so who is the main character? We can say that the princess is the main character, the slave is the main character, and the king is the main character. The boy who drew cat that you studied in year 1, so the boy is the main character. So who play the most important role in the story? This is we call main character. Characterize is the way that you use to describe about the character. So like there is a character like in the story of the teacher Lola is described as the intelligent, smart lady in her society. So this is we call that characterize, mean the way that the writer they describe about the character of describe about the people, animal, or anything in the story. So this is we call characterize. And when it become noun, they use the word characterizations. So characterization is refer to the method or the overall opinions that the writer used in order to describe about the character in the story. And one more important thing refer to the character development. It is the change. So like the character at the beginning of the story, she is a very nasty girl, but at the end of the story she became a thoughtful girl. So this is we call that character developments. So in short, in the unit 1, the teacher they teach you about 3 main literature elements. One is about main character, that if we refer to the most important people, animal, person in a story. And how could you describe about that character? This is we call characterize, and when it becomes noun we call characterizations. And the way that the character change their behavior from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, it is either sent from good to bad or from bad to good. This is we call character developments. So this is the main character, the example of main character, like in the novel by William Shakespeare, the story of Romeo and Juliet. So in the story there are a lot of characters, but the main character of the story is Romeo and Juliet. Number 2, and what we talk about, what is Romeo like? So we can say Romeo is from Montague's family. He is passionate, he is the patrician lover, he is XT, changeable, honor-driven, and young. So these are the characteristics, or how could you describe about the Romeo? This is we call characterizations. And when you talk about Juliet, she is Capulet, witty, intelligent, determined, vulnerable, bold, awareness, and she is 13 years old. So this is how can you describe about Juliet. So the way that you describe about the character, this is we call characterizations. So in here, when we talk about the literature elements of Unit 1, the story that you are learning, so how could you describe about the teacher Lola? So the main character is teacher Lola. She is the main character of the story, the teacher. And when we talk about characterizations, Lola is smart, Lola is intelligent, Lola is adventurous, Lola is thoughtful, and Lola is ahead of her time. I think you know the word smart, intelligent already, and I'm going to explain you about the third one is about adventurous. Adventurous is the behavior that you like to discover something new. So why I say that Lola is adventurous? Because Lola always teaches outdoor, and the way that she is teaching outdoor, she always stray the student mind to find something new. So that is called adventurous. She is thoughtful. Yep. Why she is thoughtful? That is have a little bit meaning to the word be ahead of her time. The word be ahead of time is mean that you think about something before the other have thought about. So like in the story of the teacher, Lola have cut her hair wearing short skirt while it is not yet popular in the town. And after she have done it, and day after day, it become a popular thing. So that's why we say that be ahead of her time. Okay, so here is the example of character development in the story of teacher. So student change behavior from the beginning of her own business to take care about the people around them. So why this is the real example of character development. So at first, while student is learning with Lola, she has no idea to help the man. And after being explained from teacher Lola about how to take the responsibility as a human being for those around them, so they thought about that man, and they went to ask the man, they take care about that man, and as the result, a man can live for many years in that village. So we can say that the way that students have changed their personality, have changed their thinking from being thinking only about her own business and to take care responsibility for those around them. This is we call character developments. One more thing, when we talk about the old man that who was had by the group of students. First, the man was a solitary man. However, after being had and lived with them, he became a happy man until one day he died peacefully in his sleeping. So this is the example of character development. So in short, there are key three literature elements that you have to learn. One, main character is what mostly character about in the story. This is we call main character. Characterizations, it refers to how you describe about the character. Easy to explain that what is she like, what is he like. And character development is the way that they change behavior from the beginning to the end of the story. So in the number 4, we talk about the plot. So plot, it refers to the main events of the story. In order to summarize a very good story, so you have to understand about the elements of plot clearly. Plots are divided into 5 elements: exposition, rising actions, climax, falling actions, and resolutions. So exposition, it refers to the beginning of the story. So what is the beginning of the story? Like, I am the reader, I don't know what is your story about. So you have to tell me about the background of the story, tell me about the main character of the story, and tell me about what the story has begun. And after that, every story they consists of climax or conflict or the problem. So what leads to the problem? This is we call rising actions. And the problem in the story, that is we call climax. So climax is the conflict, the struggle between character to character, the struggle between character to the society, the struggle between character to the environment. That is we call climax. And when you have the problem, you have to show the problem. The way that you solve that problem, that is we call falling actions. And after that, the final of your story, this is we call resolution. So when you understand about the 5 plots of this, I think that it helps you clearly in order to summarize a very good story. It is called plot elements, or it is called the mountain plots. So it is like a mountain. You begin at the lower part of the mountain, you go to the tops, and you come back to the ends. So this is the way that you summarize the story. So if you summarize a short story, I think that you can use this main plot to summarize. But when you summarize a very long story, you have to divide chapter by chapter, and each chapter, it consists of its own plot. So now I'm going to give the example of a story that you studied last semester. It's about the lady or the tiger. So I'm going to tell you about the story of the lady or the tiger. So once upon a time, there was a king, and there is a cruel and savage king who has his thought about everything that he think will, if we can say that if he did something in one time, it will done once. So one day the king has the idea that he would run an arena, and the arena consists of life and death situation. So the king gives 2 options for the criminal, and the criminal, they have to define their own fortunes. So the 2 doors, one they have the tiger, and one they have a beautiful lady. So if the criminal open the door with the tiger, he would be killed immediately by a hungry tiger. But if he open the door that have the beautiful lady, so the criminal would save his life and can get a beautiful lady to get married with. So what led to the problem? So one day the king, he found that his princess has the love affair with her own servant. So that's why it led to the problem. So the servant, he became the criminal at the king arena. So this is the main problem in the story of the lady or the tiger, because that is the fortunes of the slave, that he is going to die or he is going to marry a new girlfriend or new wife. And that is that we call inner conflict of the princess, because one, he will lose somebody that she loves. Second, she cannot see her lover getting married with the other. However, the prince gave the sign to the man that you have to choose according to her hand. And this is after seeing the signal from the prince, he is walking toward the door and open it. But we don't know that it would come a tiger or it would come a lady. As the result, it depends on the thinking of the reader. So we can see this is the way that I summarize the whole story of the lady and tiger, and I divide it into 5 main plots. Exposition, tell what the story about. Rising action, what led to the problem. The main problem in the story we call climax. How the climax is solved, this is we call falling actions. And the last of the story that we call resolutions. So please, whenever you summarize the story, try to use the plot. Here is the plot of the teacher that I give example for you. So you have read maybe 5 pages of the story the teacher, but I summarize it into only 5 columns. So teacher Lola, a principal of elementary public school and working women, she liked teaching outdoor, adventure, fun and fantastic story. Lola, who is ahead of her time, was an intellectual and a practical person. She is a woman who created a library journal, set up own school, had a great passion in the poet, brought up the children, and direct own school, family and farm. So I think that these 2 columns, this is we call exposition, because these 2 columns tell you about who is Lola and what happened with Lola. And after that we go to the rising actions. The rising action is mean what led to the main problem. So one day while she was conducting a grammar lesson, suddenly she interrupted herself by straying away from the grammar lesson to the solitary old man. So this is called rising actions. So after she pointed to a solitary old man, that is the problem happens. So the student gathering around the solitary old man, and students start to talk about him. He said that he was nothing, just an old man. He was looking for distant relative. However, she was really exhausted, so that's why he was walking towards Siba, that is the name of the tree, and she would lie down and die there. So this is the main problem you can see. In case that the student they haven't talked to the old man, I think that he was going to die. So how to solve this problem? The student came to him and asked about him. They took them inside the house, giving food, help, calling doctor, and after that treat them carefully. So we can see that is the life that was saved by the children. So the man lived for many years with the family, and he had with the farm, fed the animal. And one day they found him die peacefully. So this is the last sentence, the result of the teacher. So according to this, that is we call plot of the story. The word plot, it is the main event of the story. So beginning from who is Lola, she led the student to take care about the man. The man was helped by a student. The man, how it was helped by the student, and the result of helping the man. And beside the plot, we also have the word morals. Moral refer to what you are learning from the story. When you read the story, you feel that you are touched by that story. This is we call morals. So we can say responsibility as human being for those around us. This is the lesson that educate you throughout the story. And I have also the reflection paper, reflection question here, like what would have happened if the student have not spoken to the man? So you can see the result already. If the student, they consider only their own business, they just keep studying, I think that the man would die solitary without being known. So because of the result that they took responsibility for people around them, we can say that this is the way that they can have a man to live happily in life. The last part of our session today, we talk about type of sentence. So how would you define the term sentence? Sentence is a group of words that you use to communicate your idea. In English, in academic writing, we divide sentence into 4: simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, compound and complex sentence. Easy way to remember: simple sentence, it has subject, verb, complete thought. When you use simple sentence plus simple sentence, it becomes compound sentence. And after that, you use compound sentence joined with dependent clause, it becomes complex sentence. Easy way to remember: simple sentence, you have subject, you have verb, complete thought. This is because simple sentence. Compound sentence, you use two simple sentences joined together. This is we call compound sentence. And in case the sentence they have independent clause and dependent clause, this is we call complex sentence. And when you use compound and complex together, that is we call compound and complex sentence. So I'm going to explain one by one related to that type of sentence. Like number one, what is simple sentence? So simple sentence is independent clause that they have subject, they have verb and complete thought. You already studied the definition of independent clause. One clause that you call independent in case they have subject, they have verb and they have complete thought. So here is the subject. So in simple sentence, there are 4 basic forms that we can form. You can form in subject and verb. You can form in subject, verb. You can form in subject, verb. Or you can form in subject, verb. And there is a question that can we form more than that? The answer is you can. But according to the rule of academic writing, in case you have more subject than that, they prefer you to change your sentence into compound sentence or complex sentence. However, please pay attention to the simple sentence. Subject plus verb. I study at Phnom Penh International University. So I, one subject, study, one verb. This is because simple sentence. Subject plus verb. He and his friend are all outstanding students. So subject, he, subject, his friend, and the verb is are. Number 3, subject, verb. Okay, so they arrive at school and left. Okay, there is one more left here, verb. I forget to highlight. After a sweet supper. So we have subject, they, we have verb arrive, and we have verb left. Subject, verb. Subject you, subject Maria, verb go, and verb eat. So these are the form of simple sentence. Compound sentence are the sentence that we use two independent clauses join each other. Easy way to say, compound sentence, we use simple sentence joined with simple sentence. And in order to make compound sentence, there are 3 ways. The first one you use coordinator, the second point you use conjunctive adverb, and the third point you use semicolon. So when you talk about coordinator, you have fanboy, F, for, and, no, but, or, yet, so. So for, we use it for reason, like she studied hard, for she want to pass the scholarship. Mostly students confuse for with preposition, like I do it for you. It is not a conjunction, it is a preposition. But the for here, it is the conjunction that it is called coordinator, and it is used to show about reason. So if you compare to subordinator, it is made because. So she studied hard for she want to pass the scholarship exam. Or you can say in complex sentence, she studied hard because she want to pass the scholarship exam. And it means that we use two ideas joined together, like he is a gentleman and he always have the other. So gentleman is one thing, have other is the other thing. No, it means that you join two negative sentences that have equal idea. It is similar to and you join positive, but no, you join negative sentence. So why do I put the arista here? Because in fanboys or coordinator, the way that you write are the same, except no, because the way that you write no is different from the other fanboy. For example, in here, I don't like fish, nor do I like meat. So when you say I don't like fish, it is a negative. Here, I don't like meat. So in order to write no, you cannot write like the other fanboy. You have to put no at the beginning, and after that you have to change your statement into question statement. So that's why we say, no, do I like the meat. But it used to add an opposite idea, like it is raining, but they still play football. Or it's talking about choice or alternative possible. In order to lose weight, people should go on diet or they should do more exercise. Yet, it also the same to but. However, yet it is used in an unexpected or surprising continuation. Like he has never absented in the class, yet he failed the exam. So we can see the second sentence is hard to believe that he failed the exam because he have never absented. So that's why yet it is used in unexpected or surprising result. It show about the expected result, like I feel uncomfortable, so I stay at home. So this is the basic form to make a compound sentence by using coordinator that we always say fanboy, for, and, no, but, or, yet, so. This is the second step that we can form the compound sentence by using conjunctive adverb. So conjunctive adverb, they have something in common like fanboy, like the word also, beside, further, in addition, moreover. This is the way that we use in order to add the idea. For example, the businessman is so rich. Moreover, he has many kinds of business. So you can see the sentence 1 and the sentence 2, they have equal idea. So that's why you can use moreover, beside, furthermore, in addition, also, they are the same. Number 2, in order to add unexpected or surprising continuation, you can use however, nevertheless, still, or nonetheless. Like, she doesn't have enough money, however, she runs her own business. So we can say the sentence 1 has the opposite idea to the sentence 2. When you need to add the complete contrast, you can use the word on the other hand or in contrast. Like I am hopeless. On the other hand, they are happy all the time. So sentence 1, they are opposite to sentence 2. You can use otherwise to show about choice. And if you compare to coordinator, that is you can use or, the same. You can use something that equal or the same meaning to so, like accounting, as a result, consequently, hence, therefore, thus. Yep. And in order to give example that it doesn't have any to compare to fanboy, you can use for instance, for example. However, with fanboy, there is only one way to write, but in using conjunctive adverb, you can use it in 3 types of sentence. You use sentence, semicolon, conjunctive adverb, comma, sentence 2. Or you can use sentence 1, full stop, conjunctive adverb, but you have to begin with capital letter, comma, sentence 2. Or you can use sentence 1, full stop, sentence 2, comma, conjunctive adverb. However, I would suggest you to read more academic writing, because the way that the author, the way that you write the sentence, or the way that you use conjunctive adverb are different in form. But however, mostly they are the basic example that are showing in this slide. And number 3, we can use semicolon. So semicolon, when you think that the definition is found by the reader, you can use semicolon like, he doesn't study hard, he failed the exam in this semester. So the reader, they can know that it is so. So if you don't want to write so, you just use semicolon, it is correct. He study hard every day, yes, comma. So sorry, semicolon, he passed the exam. So this is so, yeah. And number 3, the type of sentence we call complex sentence. So when you talk about compound sentence, we talk about how you can join a sentence by using sentence 1 and sentence 2, using coordinator, subordinator. So when you talk about compound sentence, we refer to how can you join 2 sentences together by using coordinator, conjunctive adverb, or semicolon. But when you talk about complex sentence, we talk about clause. When you talk about clause refer to only subject and verb. However, clause is divided into 2, independent clause and dependent clause. Independent clause, it has subject, verb, and completed thought. Dependent clause, it has only subject and verb without completed thought. So in complex sentence, it exists in 3 types of clause. One we call adverb clause, or like I was sleeping when he arrived school. So I was sleeping, it is the independent clause. And when he arrived yesterday, this is the dependent clause. So in the form that is we call adverbial clause. And when you use the dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, don't forget to use comma. Adjective clause, that is the role like an adjective that used to modify noun in the sentence. So in adjective clause we use who, which, that, whom. Yep. So like, she is the girl whom I met yesterday. So whom I met yesterday is the dependent clause, and it is used to modify the word girl. That girl is the object of independent clause. And the last type of complex sentence, they use with noun clause. So at the moment you know about adverb clause, because the dependent clause, they play a role as the adverb in the sentence. Adjective clause, when the dependent clause, they play roles as the adjective to use to modify any nouns in the sentence. And finally we use noun clause. So noun clause, they play the role as the noun in the sentence. So in the noun clause, mostly it begins with WA question, that, whether, or sometimes if. So here is the example of noun clause. Whatever she does is always correct. So if I ask you that which one is the subject, you cannot say she. She is the subject of noun clause. But the noun clause here we have whatever she does. So whatever she does is the subject. This is we call noun clause. I don't know what I am doing. what I am doing is the object. They play role as the noun in the sentence. So what I don't know is the object. So you can see in complex sentence you can form it into 3 types by using adverbial clause, noun clause, or adjective clause. Okay, so the last one is the compound and complex sentence. Compound and complex sentence, you just need to join compound and complex sentence together. However, there is the note that at least in your sentence, it should have at least one independent clause. So you can form compound complex sentence in this 4 forms, like independent clause, dependent clause, independent clause, independent clause, dependent clause, dependent clause, independent clause, dependent clause, independent clause, dependent clause, independent clause, dependent clause, dependent clause, and independent clause. Okay. The last part of the today lecture and focus about the sentence error. So sentence error, there are many types of sentence error in academic writing. We have fragment, run-on sentence, comma splice. However, in this chapter, we focus only one about fragment. So fragment is mean when you write, you forget to give subject or you forget to give verb in the sentence. This is called fragment. Like example number 1, you forget subject. I like Minneapolis is a clean city. So you can see here, it doesn't have subject. So in order to correct it, you have to say I like Minneapolis. It is a clean city. So this is fragment. This is the correct sentence. Sometimes you forget verb like they successful. This is we call fragment. Fragment is a wrong sentence. So in order to make it right, we say they are successful. So this is the right sentence. Sometimes you forget put the independent clause. Like when I get home, it is dependent clause. Remember, dependent clause, they cannot live alone. Dependent clause we use to modify the independent clause. So in like when you say when I get home, full stop, means you are wrong, because you do not have the independent clause to modify. So you can say when I get home, full stop. No, when I get home, comma, I take a nap. So this is the sentence error that you call fragment. Okay, so thank you for today, and please read book and practice more exercise.